Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 4th, 2025 meeting of the Litchfield Planning Board. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I will do roll call of members. Michael Croto, Chair.
Jared O'Connell, Vice Chair.
Russell Blanchett, member.
Letha Riley, member.
Travis Tucker, member.
Welcome, and welcome to Jamin Kara from NRPC and Joe McKibben, our Planning Board Administrator. We do not have an alternate this evening, but we don't have a full board, but we don't have an alternate, so we won't be appointing an alternate tonight. First item is public input on non-agenda items not listed on this agenda for this evening. Is there any members of the public that wish to comment on non-agenda items tonight? Okay. Hearing none, I will close public input on non-agenda items. We will go to the number one on the agenda, which is an application and hearing for a subdivision and two lot line adjustments. Owners are David and Linda Sperberg, tax map 3 lot 29, 119 Charles Bancroft Highway. Brian Ward and Kayla Flanagan, map 3 lot 38, 9 Talent Road. Scott McConnell and Janine Sperberg, map 3 lot 43, 11 Talent Road. Adjust the lot lines between lots 29 and 38, creating a 2.014 lot at lot 38, 9 Talent Road. Adjust the lot lines between lots 29 and 43, creating a 1.59 acre lot at lot 43, 11 Talent Road. Simultaneously subdivide adjusted lot 29 into 3 lots, 2 new lots fronting on Talent Road. The original lot 29 will remain fronting at 119 Charles Bancroft Highway. Is the applicant present this evening?
Yes.
All right, would the applicant introduce himself to the board?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Pete Madsen, Senior Project Engineer at Keach Nordstrom Associates, representing the project applicant and owners. Here tonight to present the subdivision and lot line adjustment plan to you guys. So obviously the property is located at the corner of Charles Bancroft and Talent Road, map 3 lot 29. We're looking to do 3 things here. The parent parcel is about 9.5 acres in total area. We're looking to do a 3-lot subdivision, creating 2 new lots. Both those new lots are about 1.5 acres in area. Those are demarcated in blue on the plans. The next piece is a lot line adjustment with lot 38, and that's shown in pink. And then the next piece is the parcel B, which is in yellow, and that's going to be deeded to lot 43. And then lot 29, which is the parent parcel, will retain the rest of the land. New lots will be serviced by municipal water and individual septic, and access is going to be provided off Talent Road. It's a pretty straightforward plan. Chase Brook runs through the back of the site there from east to west to the river, and that's about it. So happy to hear if you guys have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, first of all, we do have to accept the application for completeness. That is part of our regulation. So at this time, I'm going to ask Joan. Joan, have all the fees been paid and all the butters notified for this application?
Yes, fees have been paid, but we statutorily sent the abutter notices on February 20th, 12 of them, and they all came back to me yesterday. They said, return to sender, insufficient address, unable to forward. I called the post office in Executive Drive and explained the situation. She said she would send a mail carrier out to pick them up. He did, and he did deliver some of them. I can't guarantee that they all were delivered yesterday.
Okay.
Jay will
Well,
explain
that
your
may-
3 options.
Right, well, we may have some options here. Jay, maybe you can...
So, yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a bit of a kerfuffle. Technically, the town met its obligations because the abutter notices were sent out in a timely way, which is our requirement. Mm-hmm. There's no requirement that they need to be received.
Okay.
However, obviously, There are people who may have received their notices today and wanted to provide comment and didn't have that opportunity. There may be people who have yet to receive their notices and might have wanted to provide comment and didn't have the opportunity. So on the one hand, we did meet our statutory obligation. On the other, I think, just reason and common sense would suggest that the effective notice wasn't provided for people. So I think it leaves us with a few options. So first of all, I do think the plan could be accepted. And then the board could decide whether or not it wants to hear the case and defer final action until the next meeting. That's an option. Another option, obviously one option is to just not move forward at all. Option 3 would be to conditionally approve it, but with the caveat that if any abutter came forward within the next week to 10 days, with an objection, basically stating that they were unable to be heard and wished to be, then we would bring it back up. So I think really those are the 3 options that we have. Don't hear it at all, accept the plan, open the hearing, hear the case, but defer final action until the next meeting, which obviously gives people the opportunity to come forward if they wish.
Well, my only concern is that if, I think, I understand that there's no condition that it has to be received, but I think in fairness to the abutters, I think perhaps it might be best to not take action tonight until we make sure that all people are notified and they have an opportunity to give them the opportunity at least to come to the meeting and address if they have any issues that they need to address. Certainly, I feel that that's probably the more prudent tact, given that at least, it's an opportunity, it's due process. I think people should have an opportunity to be heard. So I think and this is, the board can weigh in on this as well, and not me, but I'm not the board, but I think it might be more of in fairness to the abutters that we probably want to continue this to a date and time certain until we have at least have them have that notice that this hearing is tonight, rather than just move forward.
Well, if they get the notice that was sent, the original notice, it will say March 4th. And they'll think that the meeting was already
So
taken place.
would they have to be re-notified then, obviously, if we were gonna do that? So it would have to be
Re-notified.
then on whatever date the board thinks be prudent.
So would the board want to accept and then not defer final action?
Well, I'm hesitant to accept only because part of the acceptance is to make sure, because we have to say all the abutters have been notified, and they haven't. So we don't meet that requirement. If they were all notified, then that might be a different story. But because we don't have notification for everybody, I think it's in fairness that they should be notified. That's just my purview.
If legally speaking, we've met the obligation for acceptance, then I would rather just accept and continue than just wait until the next meeting.
Again, I don't know what
So,
your thoughts are.
Are you asking, you mean accept the plan as complete and then proceed forward with a discussion?
Yeah, discuss
With
it,
and
but
then
also
push it-
continue to a time and
Continue
date certain.
to a time in the future.
Another thing that possibility is if we accept it not with the butters notified, but we would put a caveat in that, or we could, that they would be notified for the next meeting. But that's the only thing. That's my only concern is that that's part of our acceptance process.
I think either way, if this is going to another meeting, we will re-notify just because the concept of continuing is that people had the notice and the opportunity
Yeah.
to hear and could have come if they wanted to. So since people didn't have that opportunity, regardless of whether you accept it and continue it or defer action entirely, we'd re-notify.
Well, I guess I have to ask the question too. So what's going to prevent the same thing from happening again? Right? So, I mean, is this an issue with the
This is the
Postal
first time
Service?
in years that
Oh, I
this
know,
has
you
ever
guys
happened.
do this all the time. You know what you're doing.
I've never heard of this
I
happening.
was going to say, I don't understand the post office.
Because it was my project. That's why it happened.
It just seems,
If we're gonna re-notify, I think I would take a ride up to Manchester, because it didn't happen in Hudson evidently, and find out why it happened.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to be thorough, I think it's better to just table everything entirely rather than. I do feel bad that these folks came out, but I feel like if we open the discussion
I just
tonight,
feel it's
then we might have to have it again.
that
the next-
in fairness to the abutters, and that they should be notified, and that they should be here if this is going to go happen, and if they choose to come, but they should be notified and they should know about it. That's the thing, and so I think we should defer until we are absolutely sure that everybody has been notified for this application. And if we have to resend the notices, we'll have to do so. It's
So what
unfortunate.
date were
but
you suggesting? The next meeting?
The next meeting, can we do the next meeting? Is
Notices
that,
would have to go out by Friday, this Friday.
so can you do that? Could they get out by Friday? Why don't we do that then? We'll schedule it for March 18th.
Yeah, does that work for the
I was going to
applicant?
say, does that work for you?
I have a prior conflict, but I'll have someone from my office show up.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
All right. So, we're gonna need to take I believe, take a vote. Do we need to take a vote or no? Do you think?
You should.
Just to make it,
I would say take a vote. I mean, because the action that you're taking tonight is to not accept the application
right.
and defer consideration to the meeting of the 18th. I think it'd be a fair vote.
Yeah.
You're not, you're not accepting the application without prejudice and deferring
Right,
consideration.
correct. I think I like that. Without prejudice, I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Before we do that, though,
Mhm.
since we're trying to be fair to all the abutters, if these folks can't come, would they have an opportunity to either say something right now or send in a letter if they can't make the 18th? I don't.
If there are abutters here this evening who got notice and are here for this meeting, then I guess you have a choice. You can either come back on the 18th. If you can't, certainly we would accept any comments that would be of any abutter for any project, and at that time, we could read them into the record if you weren't here physically to be present for the hearing. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. I have no problem with that. So. Okay.
These folks are abutters, so I didn't know if you could come back on the 18th.
Okay.
I'm new to town, I'm just attending the meeting for the
Oh,
first
okay.
time.
Okay, well, welcome.
I'm not in a butter.
Okay, very good.
They're usually not like this.
Right, yes, no, this is unusual. This wasn't expected. So I guess I'm gonna entertain a motion that we not accept the application for completeness this meeting and to defer it to the March 18th, 2025 meeting. Anyone wanna entertain that?
It's March 18th.
18th, I think, yeah.
So I'll make a motion to not accept the
For
application
completeness.
for completeness without prejudice,
Mhm.
and to defer it until, or to rehear it on the March 18th, 2025 meeting.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, any further discussion? All right, take a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 5-0-0. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Hopefully, it'll be better next time.
No
And,
worries, guys.
But as I said, in fairness, I think we
You can have the street numbers?
That's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Let's have this fully
Oh, yeah, we'd already done.
completely complete.
Just to do it
I got
again,
that on the
but
plan.
I just don't want to not have it.
Yeah,
No, I hope it doesn't.
I was gonna say it's not her. It's, you know,
I know. And this is
silly
unusual.
post office.
Never. I don't think I've ever run across
Postal
this.
workers are great, but you know, I don't know what happened there.
Sometimes the process just breaks down.
Yeah.
It does.
Sorry about that. Maybe you can show them the plan after.
Yeah.
So we'll all be honest.
Soon they want me to.
We'll have your revised plan anyway with all the issues met, so.
Someone from Keach Nordstrom wants to show up. I'm
Yeah,
not worried. They have a big enough shop over there.
that they do.
Okay, we're going to move on to the committee. Well, I guess that's all we have. Committee reports. Any reports from any committees this evening? Have a good evening, everybody.
Night.
Bye, sorry.
We'll see you soon. So, committee reports. The Conservation Commission is meeting on the 6th of March here in Town
Yes.
Hall at 7 p.m.
6:30.
6:30, I'm sorry. Capital Improvement is on April 7th, I believe at 6:30 here in Town Hall. I believe. Of course, the calendar. I have no control over the calendar. It could be at the fire station too, I'm not sure. But it's one of them. Anything from NRPCJ? Anything you want to?
Nothing new. We had our full commission meeting, so that was last week, and so the next one will be in April.
Okay.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. We have an executive committee meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Jeremy is not here, so we can't really talk about economic development. So I think that covers everything for committee reports. Approval of the February 18th, 2025 minutes. Did anyone have an opportunity to take a look at those? Have any questions?
I have one correction that
Okay.
needs to be made. The motion for reappointing Lisa
Can you
Riley.
speak up a little bit?
The motion to recommend the reappointment of Lisa Riley as a planning board member.
It's on page 5, Joe.
Yes, it's near the bottom. It doesn't have the correct people on it. It was, I think it was Jeremy and Russ.
Seconded by Russ. Yeah,
Yeah.
seconded by Russ.
Yeah,
The motion?
correct.
Yeah. So it should be Jeremy, not Jared.
Oh,
Yeah. But the motion after it is correct.
And do we need to put with the term expiring after both of those, or do we just leave that to the selectmen?
Yeah, I'd say we can leave that to the selectmen. They'll handle the details.
All right. Anything else from anybody?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
And on the minutes, page 4, committee reports, C, Lower Merrimack Local River Advisory Committee. Just like to have a little bit of clarification on here that Mr. Croto mentioned the meeting covered a proposal for a truck storage facility, period. I'd like to see that comma in Merrimack. Just because reading it like this, it's unclear where the truck storage facility is proposed to be built. I want to make it clear it's not here in Litchfield. It's in a neighboring community that will be reviewed by Lower Merrimack Advisory Committee.
And I don't know where the new solid recycling plant, that wasn't part of the,
Yeah, that's a separate one, right? The
oh,
solid,
that was something else? Was that
Was it?
something for a different
because
discussion?
I do know that
Where
there.
is that?
I know the solid recycling plant was going to be the one in Merrimack. I don't know
Okay.
much about the truck storage.
I remember the truck storage
Because
being
the
mentioned as being
meeting
in
that
there.
I attended was for the truck storage specifically. It had nothing to do with the
It's between us, we've got it figured out.
Recycling.
I do think we kind of mentioned both in passing, like when we were just talking about stuff that's happening along the river.
Yeah.
And then.
Oh, maybe
so
it
I'm
was
like,
something, okay, maybe it was a
maybe
separate
just,
discussion, so maybe just.
was also proposed along the river, just add an also, so it's not, I don't know.
Yeah, let's make it clear that they're separate.
Yeah.
But they're not in Litchfield.
But they're not in
that
Litchfield, they're in
also.
Merrimack.
Yeah, that's the most important part.
That's right. Okay. That's good. Okay, good catch. Anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve them as amended.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Letha, and a second.
Second?
Second by Russ. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving the February 18th, 2025 minutes of Litchfield Planning Board, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, as amended. Those opposed, abstained. Motion passes 500. Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to any other business. Did you attend, I think you said you were going to go and attend the meeting regarding the gas line. Did you do that?
Yeah, I did. In fact,
Any-
I wanted to report
about it
back
a little
to
bit?
you all. Yeah. So, it was actually well attended for 9 o'clock or whatever it was on a Tuesday morning. I was pretty impressed. Kim Kleiner, our town manager, was there, and there were representatives from all the major departments: road
Okay.
management, police, fire. I know I've left people out. The school superintendent was here. There were a whole host of people here, which was really great. There were 2 representatives from Liberty Utilities who were here. They, at a very high level, just summed up very quickly what they were looking to do. And they believe it has strong advantages for Litchfield. And so we proceeded to ask them questions related to everything from safety to the engineering part, everything from the size of the pipe, the material of the pipe and why. And effectively, they're going to be looking at a 12-inch pipe, because this is an elevated pressure line of 185 psi. I know when we were here last time and in the minutes, I didn't adjust the minutes because they had said 160 psi, but it's not. It's going to be 185 psi, apparently. And so a lot of the discussion was around first, on the plans, it's very difficult, as you remember when we looked through like 80 pages of plans, to figure out where you were in Litchfield on those plans. So there were some recommendations made. I mean, there was tax map and lot numbers, but let's face it, like who knows their tax map and lot numbers, right? So addresses or owners or something to kind of help you figure out where on the road you are that you're talking about would be helpful. So so they agreed to do that. And so, as you would imagine, a lot of the safety officials in the room wanted to make sure that once this project gets up and running, that ultimately that all of those all of the lines are appropriately depicted on our town GIS. So they were very open to that, because I guess they do that anyway with other towns. That's not a foreign idea for them. So some of my questions had to do with what we all talked about. You know, when we all sat here and discussed it, we were like, okay, that's great, but what's in it for Litchfield? So first starting with the high pressure line, you know, at 185 psi, you need a depressurization stations, basically, junctures in the line that allow you to depressurize to then push it to a residential neighborhood. And, you know, they tell you it's got to in order to get to a residential neighborhood, it has to come down to like 60 psi. So I asked, just picking for 5 junction points. I picked Corning Road, Albuquerque, Pinecrest, Hillcrest, and Pinecrest, and where the school was, to have depressurization with the purpose of, in those first 4 intersections, to have the ability to branch offline and up those streets and into other neighborhoods if need be. You know, I just picked them out of a hat.
Yeah.
There was no logic there other than just big intersections. And also the school, because naturally if you could tie into that, that'd be great. The pushback, I would characterize it as pushback on that, because they led with, yes, it'll be great for Litchfield, and then all the things that Litchfield might want to do with it, it was kind of met with, well, yeah, well, they talked more about new development. So if in the north side of town, for instance, we know that it's quite possible someone might put in some kind of commercial activity up there, and at that point, it would be appropriate to talk about if they had plans to put in a depressurization which would allow for that development to take advantage of the gas coming through there. When I asked about a budget, like where, so basically I said, so you have not budgeted this in to put valve points or whatever you want to call them, regulation stations, depressurizations. I'm not the engineer here, but effectively their response was that this is a ratepayer project, and that the cost would be gonna go down to the ratepayer, and that effectively they don't have a budget.
In the northern commercial district is the only one that already has existing natural gas lines.
Yeah. So I also addressed some of the questions you guys asked about, well, you know, if you're going to come down our street and inconvenience us with traffic and detours over the summer and everything else. And we did talk about summer quite a bit because of the school, you know, like when they do their construction schedule, be mindful of the school and Mel's and other things that go on along 3A, you know, and we need to make sure that we don't exacerbate that situation or those situations. And we talked about maybe a sidewalk or some kind of buffering of some kind with natural vegetation. And again, I got this, basically, oh, there is no budget. You don't, you know, this is a ratepayer project. So I'm not sure we were talking to the higher level folks within Liberty Utilities who would have the ability to speak freely about any kind of goodwill that they could provide to the community. So I suggested that they think very carefully before they come to the planning board, and that these were some of the things that we'd be interested in, and that we would certainly be asking them for. So
It's ratepayer funded, and it sounds like none of the ratepayers are here in Litchfield, so it doesn't matter to me what we do to their costs.
yeah. So
what was it
anyway.
that they said was going to benefit Litchfield?
So again, that's why, like I said, they led with that, claimed Litchfield was going to benefit from this, but by the end of the meeting, it was sort of wrapped up But,
They're gonna
well,
repave
you know,
Route
we're gonna
3A.
get all of the downside and none of the upside. So again, I come back to what's in it for Litchfield.
It sounds.
And I said that to them about 3 times, so.
They won't be coming to the planning board. They're all totally working in the state right away.
It sounds to me.
Yes and no. There are some owners that, there are some pinch points in the plan, and I can't remember what pages they were. I want to say like 12 and 15. Like there were certain parts along 3A where it really gets pinched, and they would have to go into some private property, and they would be having those discussions with those property owners. So, I hear you that 3A is it's a state road. I get it. But this is also our town. So, and the police detail and everything else that's going to come with that,
That they'll be paying for the police detail. One suggestion was to make the shoulders wider. Improve the shoulders.
I said, in the plans, on the comment section on every page, it kept reiterating, it was a copy and paste, which was, we rip up pavement, we do our work, we cover it up, and we put down pavement where it was before. And I asked, is there any deviation from that? And nope. It was what we rip up, we replace. And that was the extent of what they were offering.
They're also going to be outside the
effectively, they're
pavement.
not offering us anything.
They're gonna be outside the pavement in some,
Yeah.
most of it, I think.
So
You have to cross
I
the
told
road.
them that they would need to get buy-in from the town. They intended to have an informational session for the town. So I said, well, good for you, because a lot of people are probably going to show up and have a lot of questions. And I said, I'm prepping you for the kinds of questions that they're going to be asking. So my strong suggestion is you have some answers that at least are palatable to the public.
And there will be wetlands impacts and stream
Oh, yeah.
crossings, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And those are identified on the, on the plan. We did start the meeting off with the, there was a representative from the Conservation Commission. Forgive me, I don't know his name. But he was here, and he, I think Ms. Kleiner had asked if he had any issues with any of the animals that were identified on there, and that they had worked closely with them to actually make sure that their needs were addressed. So
Animals or with the conservation?
Was it part of the alteration of terrain?
it sounds like at
They didn't
least
come to the
animals and
conservation
vegetation, but I don't know to what extent. The conversation didn't go that much in depth.
I
It was
did get
just
a
more of a who's
call-
talking to who, and are they all being heard?
I did get a call from last week from somebody who wanted to know if the directional boring had any Litchfield regulations attached to it, and I called them back, and I haven't heard from it. It was an out-of-state call, so it's probably a subcontractor for them.
You're talking about the drilling,
Yeah, the
boring?
drilling under the stream. There's a bigger
Yeah.
question about the wetlands where they're going towards the river.
Yeah,
I don't know if George got a chance to ask about that.
we did talk, the only point where they talked about, the only point where they talked about, different types of boring, they referred to a direct bore, one lane at a time, when we talked about, was there any way that you didn't have to completely shut down 3A? Because they were talking about, particularly where you crisscross the street, to get on the other side of the other lines. Could we do it one lane at a time? And they said they did have the ability to direct bore one lane at a time. But that was the extent of the conversation about any kind of drilling. They did talk about 3 feet. I'm thinking to myself, 3 feet, that's not even below the frost line. So
Well, 3 feet under the stream, I think.
they were just talking in general. So at certain points. again, I'm not the engineer. I can't profess. A lot of this was a general level of conversation.
It'll be good, they'll have an informational meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, so they claim they're gonna come back and have a townwide kind of thing, and I don't know if that means show up at a selectmen's meeting, or it sounded like a sort of a dog and pony road show kind of thing on a Saturday at the town hall kind of thing, but I might be misinterpreting that, I don't know.
Yeah,
So,
it sounds to me like the potential benefit to Litchfield is if someone or if some company wants to spend a lot of money tapping into the line, enough money will make that happen. But
Yes.
that's it.
Yeah.
yes.
Sounds like the potential benefit to Litchfield is from the permit fees we're going to levy on this project for their directional boring and everything else they intend to do.
Well, and yes, it's a state road, but do we have any leverage with taxing per linear foot of pipeline that
All
goes?
changing, that's all changing. We just got notice of RSA that's changing. We used to be able to charge for infrastructure in town, no longer.
I'm trying to look through my notes a little bit more. There was, for anyone who cares, the materials that the pipes are made of are going to be steel, because they have to be, I guess, at that high pressure. And the welds, for just from a safety standpoint, all the weld points will be x-rayed to ensure that, there's no breach there. So, I mean, clearly they've done this before. Clearly they know what they're doing. I don't worry so much about the safety, and I sensed that most of the folks who are way more knowledgeable than me about that kind of thing felt at ease with that. But, I would like to have more ability for the town to benefit, even if it's just at the school points, to allow for one juncture point or valve point or whatever, depressurization, whatever you call it, in order to
Be GMS and
leverage
maybe
that.
LMS,
yeah.
get some
So
benefit.
and that's right to Pinecrest, so
Yeah.
there'd be some opportunity there
So,
potentially.
Should be a good inventory of pipe buried with the intention of someday tying into a project like this. I know 2013, 2014 or so, the selectmen had made some arrangements at the time with the utility that as they were opening up roads, they would embed pipes with the intention of future use.
Wonder if we did that at Albuquerque.
I don't know. I'm not sure what the status of the project is, where the maps are.
What type of pipe though?
Gas pipe. Frank Byron had talked about this years and years ago.
Just gas
Yeah.
pipe, and then it would
Yeah.
not be functioning now?
Right. It would be buried in place with the intention that when a viable project came along, that pipe would be existing, could be tied into the project, and you have pre-built infrastructure.
Just like a conduit.
yeah, the problem though is the depressurization, in that it's not your average pipe with the ability to pipe in, and that it sounded to me, I don't know this for a fact, so forgive me if I'm speaking out of turn, but it sounded to me like they had to build the infrastructure in place with those depressurization units or stations, that putting them in at the outset is not only more financially feasible, but also allows for the project
Right.
to work, period. I mean, I don't know that you could do it after
After,
the fact,
right.
based on
Seems like-
the way they
Right.
answered the questions. Again, I'm no engineer, but
And I've got no sense of the cost, but it just seems really short-sighted not to at least provide a couple of opportunities for future ratepayers.
Yeah, that's as a percentage of the project cost. That would be like a rounding error, probably.
It's got to be. I mean,
Yeah, every single foot is a lot of money to do this.
Yeah.
So just building something right next to it in a few locations would be so small.
Yeah, but not if you're envisioning it as a distribution line. And that's basically how they're envisioning it. Oh, so again, it's possible the individuals that were here are not privy to or empowered to say or promise anything beyond their pay grade.
right.
I don't know, but I gave them the message from all you, and that what things that we'd be asking and looking for.
And there might be PUC requirements that we're not aware of.
It's possible, yeah. But, I also find it, gas pipelines have gone through enough communities in this state, let alone all over the place around the country, that I've already started looking, and I'll find something.
Oh, yeah.
I'll find something that we can benefit from,
Yeah.
So if it's been done before, I will find it. So that's my mission anyway. Because if we're gonna, we talked about the disruption to, as I mentioned before, the school season versus not in the summer, Mel's, which is now both the summer but also the spooky world and also the now the holly jolly
Jingle.
holiday season, and the farm stands, the farm stands all up and down 3A. If you're going to divert people up and around, well, at some point people are going to say, well, I'm just going to go over to the next town over. We don't want that. So,
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of information. We thank you for attending the meeting. Appreciate it, and all the input that you provided. I think that it's good. And it will probably, if they do decide to have a town session, certainly something to keep in mind. And, obviously, having that conversation is good. So I think, at least lay the groundwork for it, so.
I would recommend that at least one, maybe two of us be there.
Yep.
So they don't just hear it from one person, that they,
No, I agree.
and then so
many
that
as
the
can
public
be.
can benefit
Yeah.
from that type of questioning too, because we're here to protect their interests as well.
Right. I'd hope it could be televised.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand why it wasn't.
It was on a Tuesday morning.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It was a
It can be
technical
taped.
review committee meeting.
I don't understand why,
Technical review
yeah.
committee meeting. No.
But I would advocate strongly of such a big project like that in town, that should be televised. And I agreed with your original assessment. It just, we were told afterward that it wasn't going to be. So, maybe they weren't ready for prime time. But they will be next time, hopefully.
Well, yeah,
We'll see.
we will see. Absolutely. Okay. Well, thank you for that report. Anybody have anything else?
Got just a couple things. So one is really just a public service announcement for everyone here, but the viewing public as well. So I'm not sure if a lot of people know, probably most people don't know, that NRPC has an affiliated foundation. And we do have some funding for a program that we've kicked off, which is our RIDES program. And so what it is we have funding to provide rides for elderly people and people with disabilities who need to get to medical appointments, who need to get to some, necessary service. It's meant to fill gaps in service. We do have some service in this region, in the Sauhegan Valley towns, Nashua, Merrimack, Hudson has limited service. Litchfield is one of the communities that has no service providers whatsoever for paratransit needs. So this funding is available. If anybody is aware of anyone who is in need of a ride, they can call our office and we will connect you to it. Our first stop is always, is there an alternative service? And if there isn't, we will pay for that cost for a qualifying individual, including, we've actually been able to pay for rides to people to a medical appointment in Boston. So it's not necessarily just limited to local. We've been able to cover a ride to the airport for someone who really needed to get there. So it's out there, it's worthwhile, who knows how long the funding will last, but we have it now through two different sources. And so one was a grant through St. Mary's that's wheelchair only, and then we have another pot of funding that we can use more broadly. So it's out there. Like people to take advantage of it. And secondly, I have, I guess, what I would kind of call an errata sheet, which is relevant. Not exactly errata. So they left, when we handed out the red books the last time, there was a missing statutory provision. So LexisNexis has handed this out. If you actually read the directions, you can adhere this to over the page in your book. Or you can just do what I did, is fold it and stick it in the appropriate section. What I guess is just, everybody got one, right? But so what they left out was, if you look at the second column on the right-hand side, Romans 7 was what was omitted. And it just happens to be relevant to our discussion on parking, which is going to come up, because you can see at the end of that paragraph, there are specific statutory limitations now on parking that we can require. So it's relevant, it's there, stick it in your book. It'll come up again when we chat about parking at our next work session. And then the only other thing I would just add to that is, I'm not sure how many folks are watching, but there's a lot of legislation out there. There are numerous housing-related bills and planning and zoning-related bills covering a whole gamut of issues, from whether you can serve on a zoning board and a planning board simultaneously, to limitations on restrictions that you can place on, all kinds of things. Lot size is probably the biggest one. That actually really doesn't affect Litchfield, because Litchfield doesn't require large lot zoning, but it really runs the gamut. There's so many of them out there that I tend not to zoom in a whole lot until we get past committees, because a lot of stuff dies in committee. Bills wind up getting consolidated, but we are getting to that point now. So anyway, just good to know if anybody is interested. I get regular spreadsheets on kind of the status of where everything is, and like I said, there's just so many. I'm not going to read them all.
Yeah.
So I'll wait and see. And of course, New Hampshire Municipal Association sends out a lot of alerts for things, so I get those too. Hearing coming up. This is important. So at any rate, a lot happening.
Interesting. And I know that there was a lot of stuff on the news this evening. If you watched Channel 9, they did talked a lot about that. In terms
I didn't
of,
catch that. That's good to know.
housing and the
Affordability.
land use and all that stuff. So what's going on in the legislature right now?
It's a lot.
Certainly is.
It's a
Well,
lot.
thank you for this.
Sorry?
Can I have
I'm
that
going
one?
to give you the rest of these.
Oh,
'cause
you
there's
have more?
Yeah, there's one in there for everybody who got a red book.
Okay, great.
Anything else, Jay?
That's all I've got.
Okay. Joan, do you have anything?
No, I don't.
Okay. Anybody have anything else?
I guess when's the next scheduled workshop for?
It was the 18th, but I think it's
Yeah.
not going to be.
I think we can still open the workshop. We might not do as much as we might
Okay.
have, but
Have
I'm
a
guessing
small
this
discussion.
application won't take the whole night.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It's a minor. I think it's a minor.
And we have a home occupation should go pretty quickly.
All right.
And then whatever we don't get workshop-wise, we'll just carry over to the next one.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Very good. Thank you. I have nothing else for this evening. I guess voting is March 11th, so get out
It's
and vote.
Tuesday,
To next Tuesday. So,
7 to 7.
okay. And so we'll see what happens with our zoning amendments
Right.
and stuff.
And I did.
We did.
I held off on giving everybody updates with the stormwater. I figured after town meeting, we'll just get you a whole new batch, so.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, I have a motion by Lisa. I have a second.
Second.
Second by Travis. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes 500. Thank you for joining us this evening. We will see you on the 18th of March, and get out and vote, March 11th. Have a good night.